Mr. Alex, thank you very much for the super chat. Yesterday night, when One News did a segment on nurses and doctors leaving New Zealand, which they estimate at around 24,000, I really think it's time we give our nurses and doctors a better salary. Oh, I don't think you're right, Alex. I think that it's far more important that landlords get 2.9 billion. I just think that, because landlords add so much more to the day-to-day running of New Zealand than, what does a nurse really do? They get to wear comfy clothes and walk around, in hospitals. What do they really do?
Wave of voluntary redundancies coming through the New Zealand Defence Force and Police as well.
And guess where they're all going to go?
They're all going to fuck off to Australia. Because it's the vandalism from this government is so clear, and it is kind of like what this Project 2025 would be like. Is like they've come in with a list, and when you're trying to look like you're doing something that you're making progress, you just go down the list, right? And the list that this government has come into, all three parties as part of the coalition of cunts, are just working the list. I mean, is this our pivot into the housing standards, the thing that nobody has asked for? Today has been a day of like the building industry is not asking for insulation standards to be relaxed. The housing manufacturers haven't asked for it. Who the fuck has asked for this?
Yeah. So what I realized today, Chewy, is a part of this government and their fetish to try and save every cent possible no matter what, is what they're doing is they're saving dumb money. Well, they're saving smart money and now they're spending dumb money. So what they're doing with the houses is it doesn't matter that the current standards give a better house, a safer house, a healthier house, a more long-lasting house. They're like, if we can save 5% on these people building their house, then they're going to vote for us again. But that's dumb money to save 5% or 3% or 1% and have a 20% less effective house. It's dumb. It's not smart. It's not good business decisions. Now, if you don't know quite what we're talking about, then why don't we play a little bit of an interview from TV1 this morning, speaking to Professor Philippa Howden-Chapman, and she makes the case that this reduction of standards when it comes to insulation, that's it, will end up killing people. So I'll have a bit of a look at this.
When you heard the news that the Minister was looking at reducing insulation standards, what was your reaction?
I was staggered, frankly. I mean, this was impeccably developed and implemented policy that had the support after extensive consultation with everybody involved, from builders, manufacturing, the public, and so forth. And to reverse that.
So that the other word for that would be consensus. There is unanimous consensus by everyone that this is the right thing to do, except for the government.
On the anecdotal evidence of one builder in Tauranga, I found it very strange that the minister would do that. And so I gathered together the information that we know from our 30 years of work, that basically insulation stops too much heat coming into the house, but it retains the temperatures at the right temperature inside the house. So insulation has a dual function to keep warmth in and to keep the excess summer heat out. So it's a very, very useful, proven product. And even with the rise in this insulation, we're still half the standards that there are in Australia, Ireland, England, places that we compare ourselves with, and we have similar weather. So it was an extraordinary decision.
You say that more people could die as a result of this. You also mentioned that your 30 years of extensive work, you've also worked with the World Health Organization when it comes to healthier, warmer homes. So what in your research, what in your experience of working with WHO leads you to say that, you know, there are serious health issues here and that more people could die?
Well, we've done, as I said, extensive research with other agencies like Motu and Brands and so forth, and we've been able to show that there are a number of positive effects from having insulation. Children are less likely to get sick, less likely to have days off school.
Oh, so that would help keeping the rolls up that they're trying to do. So interesting that.
Parents are less likely to have days off work, less likely to use pharmaceuticals, less likely to go into hospital. And
in other words, it costs the country a lot less when people insulate their houses correctly. It costs the country less, it costs the family less, and they're healthier.
We know that people who are vulnerable from heart conditions or from respiratory conditions are less likely to die in winter when there's insulation in the house. We're just slowly, and we've made a big step with H1, rising our standards so that we're more similar to other countries with the same kind of temperatures. So
there you go. That'll us for now. We can play out of there. So, Chewy, I've talked all through that. You have at it, sir.
I saw the story and I was blown away. There is one section of New Zealanders that are going to benefit from this. There is the only ones that will benefit this are housing developers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That the numbers that Pink
Slumlords
used was that these insulation standards add $50,000 to the cost of a house. Now, it took less than a day for that to get blown out of the water. That it's actually probably closer to $10,000 to $15,000 to a house, which for the owner, they make back in just a couple of years of lower electricity usage for heating and cooling.
I mean, also, just before you move on, I mean, you think about, a section is 300,000 to 500,000. A house to build is probably 400,000 to 600,000 minimum. So you got $1 million going in. $10,000 would be what, 1%. So it's a 1% increase to have a much better, much healthier, much safer functioning home. Sorry, keep going, Joey.
It's also more likely that this $50,000 number that they were talking about comes from what it adds to a house worth probably $1.5 million. In the scheme of the things, it's fucking tiny. Yeah. New Zealand has famously bad housing stock. We've always under insulated. So a lot of work was done to go, well, what do we do to move forward? Climate's changing. We need to do better. And there are huge downstream benefits for everyone. Everyone's healthier. We have less time off work, less time off school, less medicines, less respiratory infections, all of these things that have a downstream payoff for the country going over decades, for the life of this house. It's fucking worth it. And then they talk to the manufacturers, the people that are going to be making these windows, these insulation pieces, and they went, yep, cool, if that's the way that we're going, we will spend the money to get the equipment to build these windows, as an example. And then to have this government, the government of business, come around and shit on them and go, oh, that's a shame you bought all of that equipment. These developers are not going to use it because they don't have to anymore. Yeah. The laughable example that they used was, if you put too much insulation in the house will be too hot. What a bunch of ass, because insulation works both ways. If you've put more insulation in your house and now it's too hot, you have designed that house poorly, which is another sign of an absolute bullshit money-grubbing housing developer. And that's who Pink is talking to.
Yep, and Pink wouldn't go on the show. Scheduling. And later on in that show, the
house is too hot.
The professor talked also about the building of the house, and it will last longer, like I referenced earlier. And you think about the resale of that house. If you've now got it insulated properly, it's going to be worth more when you resell. It's just there is actually not one good reason to do it. It doesn't make the house that much more expensive. It does make it less attractive when you sell it. It makes the house healthier when you live in it. There's literally, someone in the chat try and find a reason reason why. I mean, Kiwibird might be getting close. Some people may die, but it's a national sacrifice that Luxon is willing to make. Thank you for your super chat. Peter says the minister should come down to Dunedin in the winter and spend a few nights in an under-insulated house. And one more, Ruru says 30 child deaths and 30,000 hospitalizations per year are linked to preventable housing-related conditions in New Zealand. Sourcing is Dr. Neville Pearce, I guess, Otago University. Chewy.
I mean, if you're building your own house and you're designing it and you're spending all your money and that sort of thing, and you're just managing the project, you would absolutely go, yes, I want a warm, dry house. You know, I want to maximize my energy usage, so I'm cutting down my energy bills. That's just a no-brainer. But when you're a developer who's doing a subdivision and building 25 houses and you're just looking at the numbers,
yep, flip them.
What's the least I can spend on this house for the most I can sell it for? And people, when they look at houses that are already built from, they don't look at features like that. Yeah. They're not the hot, sexy. They look at the number of bathrooms, how big's the garage, all of those sort of things. Those are things that will be overlooked by the buyers, and they will be the ones that are paying the cost, while the developer laughs all the way to the bank.